Jake Murphy stood on the bridge of his new ship and wanted to punch something. The USS Liberty looked like it had been built from garbage. The walls had patches over patches. Wires hung from the ceiling in places where panels should be. The lights didn't work, and the ones that did flickered like dying candles. He had been a captain for 12 years. He had commanded real warships with crews that knew what they were doing. Now the Galactic Council had given him this floating junk pile and called it a promotion. They said he was getting an important assignment in the Outer Rim. What they really meant was that they wanted him to disappear. The crew wasn't any better than the ship. Chief Engineer Lisa Brown walked onto the bridge wearing coveralls that were more grease than fabric. She had dropped out of the academy 3 years ago after failing her final exams. The rumor was that she had built an engine that worked better than the textbook said it should. The instructors failed her for not following proper procedures. "Captain," she said, wiping her hands on a dirty rag, "I've got the engines running, but I can't promise they'll stay that way. This ship has been patched with parts from 6 different manufacturers. Nothing matches anything else." Danny Torres came next. He had been demoted from lieutenant to sergeant after what the military called creative interpretations of combat rules. What that really meant was that he had won battles by cheating. His last commanding officer said he fought dirty and couldn't be trusted to follow orders. "Weapons are online, sir," Danny reported. "Sort of. We've got 2 laser cannons that are older than my grandfather. The targeting computer crashes every time we try to lock onto something smaller than a moon. The missile tubes work, but we only have 6 missiles total." Amy Collins stumbled onto the bridge next, carrying 3 different navigation tablets and looking confused. She had failed her advanced navigation certification 3 times. The other officers said she got lost in her own solar system, but somehow she always found ways to get ships where they needed to go, even if she took the strangest routes possible. "Captain Murphy," she said, dropping one of her tablets, "I've plotted our course to the Kepler sector. It's going to take us 4 days longer than normal because our jump drive is limited to short hops. Also, I'm not sure about the star charts they gave us. Some of these systems aren't where the maps say they should be." Dr. Paul Hayes was the last to arrive. He had been exiled to the Outer Rim for questioning alien medical practices. He kept insisting that human medicine could be improved by combining it with alien techniques. The medical board said he was dangerous and unprofessional. They transferred him to the Liberty as punishment. "Medical bay is ready, Captain," Hayes said. "By ready, I mean we have bandages and some basic supplies. The surgical equipment is from 3 different planets and none of it was designed to work together. But I've made it function somehow." Jake looked at his crew and felt his heart sink. These were the people the Galactic Council expected to patrol the most dangerous sector in known space. They were being sent out in a ship held together with tape and hoped to face pirates who had destroyed every patrol sent against them for the past 2 years. The council members weren't even trying to hide their opinion of humans anymore. The crystalline Zephyrians spoke to humans like they were talking to children. The biomechanical Nexari treated human technology like primitive toys. The energy-based Luminites barely acknowledged that humans existed at all. Earth's fleet was considered a joke. Human ships were too slow, too weak, and too simple. Human crews were seen as barely competent enough to handle basic transport duties. The fact that humans had fought their way to the stars through sheer stubbornness didn't impress anyone. All the other species had developed faster than light travel centuries before humans learned to fly. The Liberty's first mission briefing had been insulting in its simplicity. Investigate minor pirate activity in the Kepler sector. Protect shipping lanes. Report back in 3 months. The briefing officer, a Zephyrian with a voice like breaking glass, had handed Jake the orders without even looking at him. "Don't try to be heroes," the alien had said. "Your job is to observe and report. If you encounter serious resistance, retreat immediately. Earth cannot afford to lose ships to pointless heroics." Jake had wanted to argue, but what was the point? The council had already decided that humans were expendable. They were sending the Liberty to the Kepler sector because they expected it to be destroyed. When it disappeared like the last 3 human patrols, they would have proof that the sector was too dangerous for regular forces. Now Jake stood on his bridge and looked at his misfit crew. Lisa Brown was covered in grease but had somehow gotten engines working that should have exploded years ago. Danny Torres was a troublemaker, but had never lost a fight. Amy Collins got lost constantly, but always found her way home. Paul Hayes was stubborn and difficult but cared more about saving lives than following rules. Maybe the council was right. Maybe they were all failures and rejects. But they were his failures and rejects now. And Jake had learned something during his 12 years as a captain. Sometimes the best crews were made up of people who had something to prove. "All right, people," he said. "I won't lie to you. This mission is probably a death sentence. The Kepler sector has eaten 3 patrols in 2 years. Our ship is held, together with prayer and spite. The council expects us to fail spectacularly." He paused and looked at each of them. "But here's the thing. Everyone in this room has been written off as worthless. Everyone here has been told they're not good enough. Well, maybe it's time we proved them wrong." Lisa grinned and cracked her knuckles. Danny checked his sidearm. Amy pulled up star charts on all 3 tablets. Paul organized his medical supplies. They might be flying a junk heap into certain death, but at least they were doing it together. The Liberty had been in the Kepler sector for 6 days when the trouble found them. Jake was drinking coffee that tasted like engine oil when Amy Collins ran onto the bridge looking terrified. "Captain, we have ships coming in fast," she said, her hands shaking as she held her navigation tablet. 3 vessels, Nexari design. They're not responding to our identification signals." Jake set down his coffee and moved to the captain's chair. Through the main viewing screen, he could see 3 sleek ships approaching. They looked like metal sharks with glowing blue engines. Each one was twice the size of the Liberty and probably had more firepower than Earth's entire fleet. "Battle stations," Jake ordered. Around the bridge, warning lights began flashing red. The crew moved to their positions with the nervous energy of people who knew they were about to die. Danny Torres ran his hands over the weapon controls. "Captain, those are Nexari raiders. Top-of-the-line ships with military-grade weapons. Our lasers can't even scratch their hulls. Standard procedure says we should run." "Can we outrun them?" Jake asked. Amy Collins was frantically checking her instruments. "No, sir. Their engines are 3 times more powerful than ours. They'll catch us in less than 10 minutes. Lisa Brown's voice came over the communication system from the engine room. "Captain, I'm reading massive power signatures from those ships. Their shields alone are stronger than our entire power output. We don't stand a chance in a straight fight." Jake looked at the approaching ships and felt his stomach drop. This was exactly what the Galactic Council expected to happen. The Liberty would be destroyed, and they would use it as proof that humans didn't belong in space. His crew would become another casualty report that nobody would read. But then he remembered something his first commanding officer had told him. "When you can't win by the rules, change the rules." "Lisa, how much power do we have available?" He asked. "Not enough, Captain. Maybe 60% of normal operations. The coffee maker in the galley is actually drawing more power than our secondary shields." Jake smiled. "Then disconnect everything except life support and weapons. Everything, including gravity if you have to." "Sir, that's insane. If we lose, our shields, 1 hit will destroy us. We're going to lose anyway if we fight them straight up. Danny, those mining lasers we picked up at the last station, can you tie them into the main weapon systems?" Danny looked confused. "Those aren't military weapons, Captain. They're designed to cut through asteroids. They don't have targeting systems or proper cooling. They'll overheat after 1 shot." "What if we don't need a second shot?" "Amy, I need you to plot a course through that asteroid field over there. Get us as close to those big rocks as possible." Amy stared at him like he had lost his mind. "Captain, that field is marked as a navigation hazard. The asteroids are moving in unpredictable patterns. Even advanced ships with perfect navigation systems avoid that area." "Good. Then they won't expect us to go there." The Nexari ships were getting closer. Jake could see their weapon ports opening. In less than 5 minutes they would be in firing range. "Lisa, I need you to reroute power from the coffee maker and anything else that uses electricity. Push everything into the shields and engines. Make them think we're more powerful than we actually are." Down in engineering, Lisa Brown was doing things that would make her old instructors faint. She connected the ship's heating system to the shield generators. She wired the kitchen equipment into the power grid. She even hooked up the exercise equipment in the gym to create extra electrical current. "This is completely against regulations," she muttered as she worked. But regulations never had to deal with Nexari raiders. The power readings on the Liberty began climbing. To the enemy ships, it looked like the human vessel was suddenly becoming much more dangerous. Danny Torres was having his own problems with the weapons. The mining lasers weren't designed to work as ship weapons. They had no computer targeting and needed to be aimed manually. But Danny had grown up hunting in the mountains back on Earth. He knew how to hit targets without computers. Amy Collins was plotting the strangest course of her career. She was using gravitational pulls from the asteroids to change their direction without using much engine power. The course made no sense according to normal navigation rules, but Amy had never followed normal rules anyway. The first Nexari ship fired a warning shot that missed the Liberty by 100 meters. The blast was powerful enough to vaporize a city block. "They're giving us a chance to surrender," Jake said. "How polite of them." "Lisa, status report. Shields are at maximum power, but that's still not enough to stop their weapons. Engines are running hot but stable. And Captain, I've managed to make our power signature look like we have 3 ships instead of 1. "Excellent. Danny, are you ready with those mining lasers?" "Ready as I can be, sir, but I only get 1 shot before they overheat. If I miss, we're dead." "Then don't miss. Amy, take us into the asteroid field. Full speed." The Liberty suddenly accelerated toward the dangerous asteroid field. The Nexari ships followed, but they had to slow down to avoid hitting the massive floating rocks. Their advanced navigation systems were designed for open space, not for threading through moving obstacles. Amy was flying like a madwoman, using her 3 tablets to track different asteroids at once. She was making course corrections that no computer would approve of, but somehow they were working. The Liberty was moving through the field like it belonged there. The Nexari ships were having trouble. Their sophisticated systems kept warning them about collision risks. They had to reduce speed and couldn't get a clear shot at the Liberty. Jake watched his crew work and realized something important. Everything that made them failures in the eyes of the Galactic Council was actually making them stronger now. Lisa's habit of ignoring regulations let her boost their power in ways nobody expected. Danny's refusal to follow standard procedures meant he could adapt to unusual weapons. Amy's tendency to get lost meant she could navigate in places where normal pilots would crash. "Now, Danny," Jake ordered. Danny fired the mining lasers. The beams cut through space and struck the lead Nexari ship exactly where its engines connected to the main hull. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The other 2 Nexari vessels stopped pursuing and began retreating. They had lost 1 ship to a human vessel that should have been destroyed easily. Their commanders couldn't understand what had happened. Jake looked at his crew and smiled. They had just done something impossible, and they were just getting started. 6 months had passed since the Liberty first entered the Kepler sector. Jake Murphy stood in the cargo bay looking at piles of salvaged alien technology. His ship looked like a floating junkyard, but it was a very dangerous junkyard now. Word had spread through the outer rim about the human ship that couldn't be beaten. Pirates ran when they saw the Liberty coming. Merchant ships specifically requested human escorts. Even some alien traders were asking for protection from Captain Murphy and his crew. But Jake knew their luck wouldn't last forever. The enemies they were fighting were getting smarter and bringing bigger weapons. The Liberty needed to be more than just clever tactics and lucky shots. Lisa Brown emerged from behind a pile of Nexari engine parts, her face covered in blue grease. She had been working in the cargo bay for weeks, taking apart alien technology and studying how it worked. "Captain, I need to show you something," she said, wiping her hands on her coveralls. "I've been experimenting with the parts we salvaged from those raider ships." She led him to a workbench where she had connected human wiring to a Zephyrian crystal matrix. The crystal was glowing with a soft purple light and humming quietly. "According to everything I learned in school, this shouldn't work," Lisa said. "Zephyrian crystals are supposed to be rigid and predictable. They follow exact mathematical patterns. But when I connected them to our analog control systems, something interesting happened." She adjusted a simple mechanical dial, and the crystals Glow changed from purple to blue to green. The crystal is adapting to different power inputs. It's not following the rigid patterns anymore. It's learning. Jake stared at the glowing crystal. Learning what? How to work with human technology. The Zephyrians use digital computers to control their crystals, perfect mathematical precision. But human systems are messier. We use intuition and adaptation. The crystal is starting to respond to that. Lisa moved to another workbench where she had been working on Nexari biomechanical parts. The organic components were growing around human mechanical systems like vines around a fence. The Nexari biotech is even more interesting, she said. Their living machines are designed to be controlled by complex AI systems, but I've been feeding them simple human electrical patterns. Look what happened. She pressed a button and the biomechanical device started moving on its own. It was repairing a damaged piece of metal, working without any computer guidance. It's functioning independently, Lisa explained. The Nexari always need digital oversight for their biotech, but when we treat it like a living thing instead of a machine, it starts thinking for itself. Jake was beginning to understand what his engineer was suggesting. You want to upgrade the Liberty using alien technology. Not just upgrade it, Captain. I want to create something completely new. A ship that combines human engineering with alien science. The aliens design their technology to work in specific ways with specific systems, but humans have always been good at making things work that shouldn't work. Over the next few weeks, Lisa began secretly upgrading the ship. She installed Zephyrian crystal matrices connected to human analog controls in the engine room. The crystals learned to adapt to the Liberty's chaotic power systems instead of fighting them. She grew Nexari biomechanical components throughout the ship's hull. The living metal learned to repair itself without being told what to do. It even started reinforcing weak spots before they became problems. The most dangerous addition was Luminite energy systems. The energy-based aliens used these to power their ships, but the systems were unstable in solid matter. Lisa found a way to channel the energy through human electromagnetic principles, creating power sources that were both stable and incredibly powerful. Danny Torres was amazed by what the new systems could do for his weapons. The Zephyrian crystals could adapt his targeting systems in real time. Instead of following programmed patterns, the weapons learned from each battle and became more accurate. It's like the ship is becoming a better fighter, Danny told Jake. The targeting system remembers how different enemies move and adjusts for it. I'm hitting targets I couldn't even see before. Amy Collins found that the biomechanical components were helping her navigation in ways she never expected. The living systems could sense gravitational changes and space distortions that normal sensors missed. Captain, I think the ship is learning. The star patterns, Amy said. The biotech is mapping space in 3 dimensions and remembering every route we take. It's like having a navigator that never forgets anything. Dr. Paul Hayes was having the most success with the alien medical technology. He had combined human medicine with alien healing techniques to create treatments that worked on multiple species. His medical bay was becoming famous throughout the sector. I've got Zephyrian healing crystals powered by human bioelectric fields, Hayes explained to Jake. Nexari bioscanners that learn to recognize human anatomy. Even Luminite energy, therapy that doesn't burn human skin. I'm treating injuries that should be impossible to fix. But the most important change was that the Liberty didn't look like it was upgraded at all. From the outside, it still appeared to be the same patched-together junk heap that the Galactic Council had dismissed. The alien technology was hidden, inside the hull, integrated so completely with human systems that it was invisible. Jake realized that his ship had become something unprecedented in galactic history. It wasn't just human technology or alien technology. It was both, working together in ways that neither species had imagined possible. The Liberty was becoming stronger not because it was abandoning human methods, but because it was combining them with alien science. The result was a ship that could adapt and evolve in ways that pure alien technology couldn't match. But they kept their improvements secret. When other ships scanned the Liberty, they still saw an outdated human frigate. The alien species that had dismissed them as primitive had no idea that the humans were now using their own technology better than they could. Jake stood on his bridge, and watched his crew work with systems that responded to their thoughts and needs. The ship was becoming an extension of their will, a living weapon that grew stronger with every battle. The Galactic Council still saw humans as second-class citizens. They had no idea that the Liberty had become something that could challenge the most advanced ships in the galaxy. And Jake intended to keep it that way until the right moment came to show the universe what humans were really capable of. Jake Murphy stared at the decoded message on his screen and felt his blood turn cold. The information had come from a dying alien trader who had begged the Liberty for protection. What the message revealed changed everything they thought they knew about their mission. The pirates they had been fighting weren't random criminals. They were part of something called the Hegemony, a secret alliance of extremist aliens who wanted humanity wiped out completely. For the past 3 years, they had been systematically destroying human colonies and making it look like other species were responsible. "Captain, this is bigger than we thought," Dr. Hayes said as he finished treating the alien trader. "According to this being, the Hegemony has destroyed 47 human settlements. They've been covering it up by blaming different alien species each time." Amy Collins pulled up star charts showing the destroyed colonies. "Sir, look at this pattern. They're not attacking randomly. They're cutting off human expansion routes and isolating our remaining settlements. This is genocide." Jake felt sick. The Galactic Council had sent the Liberty to investigate minor pirate activity. What they had actually stumbled into was a war that humanity didn't even know was being fought. And if the trader's information was correct, the Council either didn't know about the Hegemony or didn't care enough to stop them. Danny Torres was studying intelligence reports about Hegemony forces. "Captain, we're looking at military-grade ships with weapons that can destroy entire planets. Their main fleet has a dreadnought that's the size of a small moon. How are we supposed to fight something like that?" "We fight it the same way we've been fighting everything else," Jake said, "by being smarter than they expect us to be." But privately, Jake wasn't sure they could win this time. The Hegemony dreadnought was everything the Liberty wasn't. New, advanced, and crewed by some of the most elite warriors in the galaxy, it had enough firepower to reduce Earth to space dust and shields that could probably stop the combined human fleet. Lisa Brown had been monitoring Hegemony communications from the engine room. "Captain, I'm picking up massive energy signatures, heading this way. That dreadnought is coming to finish what they started. Estimated arrival time is 6 hours." Jake called his senior crew to the bridge. They had 6 hours to figure out how to destroy a ship that outclassed them in every possible way, and on paper it was impossible. The dreadnought had 1,000 times their firepower and could probably survive anything they could throw at it. "Suggestions?" Jake asked his crew. Danny was the first to speak. "We can't fight it head-on. Our weapons won't even scratch that thing. We need to find a weakness or create one." Amy was frantically checking sensor readings. "Captain, the dreadnought is using advanced navigation systems that rely on perfect sensor data. What if we make their sensors lie to them?" "How do we do that?" Jake asked. Lisa's eyes lit up. "The resistance cells we've been working with, they're scattered throughout this sector. What if we coordinate with them to create false sensor readings across multiple systems?" Jake began to understand what his crew was suggesting. They couldn't match the dreadnought's power, so they would make that power irrelevant. Over the next 5 hours, the Liberty became the center of the most complex deception operation in galactic history. Lisa used the ship's hybrid systems to generate power signatures that made it look like they had an entire fleet. She overloaded their Zephyrian crystals to create energy patterns that confused enemy sensors. Amy coordinated with resistance cells across 6 star systems. Each group would activate devices at precisely timed intervals to make sensor sweeps show human ships where none existed. The dreadnought's advanced computers would see threats everywhere. Danny worked with smugglers and independent traders to position ships with basic transponders throughout the sector. When activated, they would make it appear that the Liberty was in dozens of different places at once. Dr. Hayes even contributed by using medical scanner technology to disrupt the dreadnought's biosensor systems. The enemy ship would be unable to determine how many crew members were on opposing vessels. When the Hegemony dreadnought arrived, its sensors reported impossible readings. They showed a massive human fleet surrounding them from all directions, Ships appeared to be moving faster than light without using jump drives. Energy signatures suggested weapons that shouldn't exist. The Dreadnought's captain was an experienced Nexari warrior named Vex Kalar. He had destroyed hundreds of human ships and expected this battle to be routine. Instead, his sensors were showing readings that made no sense. "Commander, we're detecting at least 50 human vessels." His sensor officer reported. "But that's impossible. Intelligence said there was only one ship in this sector." "Recalibrate the sensors," Vex Kalar ordered. "Humans don't have 50 ships anywhere, let alone in the outer rim." But recalibrating didn't help. If anything, the readings got worse. Now the sensors showed human ships that seemed to be in multiple places simultaneously. Energy signatures appeared and disappeared in patterns that violated the laws of physics. The Liberty itself seemed to be everywhere at once. One moment it appeared off their starboard side, the next, it was behind them. Sometimes it seemed to be in 3 different locations simultaneously. Vex Kalar had never encountered anything like this. His dreadnought was designed to fight conventional battles against predictable enemies. But the humans weren't being predictable. They were being impossible. The battle itself lasted only 30 minutes, but it was unlike anything in galactic military history. The dreadnought fired at targets that weren't there while missing threats that were right in front of them. Their advanced targeting systems couldn't lock onto ships that seemed to exist in multiple places at once. The Liberty used every trick they had learned. They appeared to attack from 6 directions simultaneously, while actually approaching from a 7th. Their hybrid weapon systems fired in patterns that confused the dreadnought's defensive computers. When it was over, the most powerful warship in the hegemony fleet was drifting dead in space. Its crew had abandoned ship rather than face an enemy they couldn't understand. The Liberty hadn't just won an impossible battle. They had done it without taking a single hit. Jake looked at his crew and realized they had changed the rules of warfare itself. They hadn't matched the enemy's technology. They had made their enemy's advantages meaningless by fighting in ways that their advanced systems couldn't comprehend. But the victory came with a cost. The secret of the Liberty's capabilities was now known throughout the galaxy. There would be no more hiding what they had become. 3 weeks after the destruction of the hegemony dreadnought, Jake Murphy found himself standing in the main council chamber on Galactic Station Prime. The massive room was filled with representatives from every major species in the galaxy. All of them were staring at him. The crystalline Zephyrian who served as council president spoke with a voice like breaking glass. "Captain Murphy, your ship has accomplished something that our military experts say was impossible. We require an explanation." Jake looked around the room at faces and forms that showed everything from curiosity to fear to anger. The news of the Liberty's victory had spread through the galaxy faster than light speed. Everyone wanted to know how a human junk heap had destroyed the most powerful warship ever built. "With respect, Council President, we did what we always do. We adapted to the situation and found a way to win." A Nexari representative leaned forward, his biomechanical parts whirring softly. "Adaptation does not explain how your primitive vessel defeated advanced hegemony technology. Our analysis suggests you have developed capabilities far beyond anything in your official records." Some council members were demanding to inspect the Liberty's technology. Others were insisting that humanity was too dangerous to remain free in the galaxy. Jake could see the fear in their faces. They had spent so long looking down on humans that they couldn't understand how the situation had changed. Lisa Brown stepped forward from where she stood with the rest of the Liberty's crew. "Council President, may I speak?" The Zephyrian's crystal body flickered with surprise. "You are the vessel's engineer, correct? You may proceed." Lisa pulled out a small device that projected holographic images into the center of the room. "Honored representatives, I want to show you something that might change how you think about technology and cooperation." The first image showed a standard Zephyrian crystal matrix, perfectly geometric and glowing with steady light. "This is how your crystals normally function. Precise, predictable, following exact mathematical patterns." The second image showed the same crystal connected to human systems. The crystal was glowing with shifting colors and adapting its shape in real time. This is what happens when we combine your technology with our methods. The crystal learns to be flexible instead of rigid. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Zephyrian representatives looked shocked. Their crystals weren't supposed to be able to change like that. Lisa continued with images of Nexari biomechanical systems working independently and luminite energy flowing through human electromagnetic controls. Every species in this room developed their technology in isolation. You perfected single approaches to engineering problems, but humans developed differently. Jake took over the explanation. We come from a world where survival meant constant adaptation. We've always had to make things work that shouldn't work. We've always had to combine different ideas to solve problems. Dr. Hayes stepped forward. What we discovered is that your technologies become stronger when combined with human principles. Zephyrian crystals become adaptive. Nexari biosystems become independent. Luminite energy becomes stable. Amy Collins activated her navigation tablet, showing star charts that combine data from all species. When we use everyone's knowledge together, we can find routes and solutions that no single species could discover alone. Danny Torres displayed weapon configurations that mixed technologies from 4 different species. These hybrid systems don't just add capabilities together, they create something completely new. The council chamber fell silent as the representatives processed what they were seeing. The Liberty hadn't become powerful by abandoning human methods or copying alien technology. They had become powerful by combining everything together in ways that no one had thought possible. A Luminite representative speaking through an energy translator asked the question everyone was thinking. Why share this information with us? You could have kept these advantages secret. Jake smiled. Because keeping secrets is what the hegemony did. They wanted to divide us and make us fight each other. We want to do the opposite. Lisa activated one more hologram, showing the design for a new type of starship. This is what we could build. Together, ships that combine the best of all our technologies, vessels that are stronger than anything any single species could create alone. The design showed a ship with Zephyrian crystal cores managed by human adaptive systems, Nexari biomechanical hulls guided by human intuition, and luminite power sources stabilized by human electromagnetic principles. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The galaxy faces threats that we haven't even discovered yet, Jake said. The hegemony was just the beginning. We can face those threats separately and probably lose, or we can face them together and definitely win. The council president's crystal form pulsed with different colors as she processed the information. You are proposing a fundamental change in how galactic civilization functions. Cooperation instead of competition. Integration instead of isolation. We're proposing survival, Jake replied. The Liberty proved that diversity makes us stronger. Different approaches to the same problems create solutions that none of us could find alone. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some representatives were excited by the possibilities. Others were afraid of losing their technological advantages. A few were angry that humans had achieved so much while being dismissed as primitives. But in the end, the evidence was impossible to ignore. The Liberty had accomplished something that pure alien technology couldn't match. The hybrid systems worked better than anything any single species had developed. The final vote was close, but it passed. The Galactic Council approved the creation of a joint research and development program. The Liberty would become the flagship of a new fleet designed to combine technologies from all member species. 6 months later, Jake stood on the bridge of the Liberty as she led a squadron of hybrid vessels on patrol. Each ship in the formation combined different alien technologies with human engineering principles. The crews were mixed species, working together in ways that had never been tried before. Amy Collins, now serving as fleet navigator, had trained officers from 6 different species in her unconventional navigation techniques. Danny Torres was teaching alien weapons officers how to think creatively in combat. Lisa Brown was leading engineering teams that mixed technologies in ways that amazed everyone. Dr. Hayes had established medical centers throughout the sector that provided treatment for all species using combined techniques. Jake looked at his mixed crew and smiled. The ship that had once been dismissed as trash was now leading the most advanced fleet in galactic history. But more importantly, they had proven that the galaxy's strength lay not in any single species or technology, but in the unity of different perspectives working toward common goals. The Liberty had become more than just a warship. She had become a symbol of what the galaxy could achieve when its people stopped seeing differences as weaknesses and started seeing them as strengths. And, somewhere out in the dark between the stars, new threats were stirring. But now the galaxy was ready for them.